Hello, this is Dave, and welcome to Equity Story. I'm with Wolf, and this is just general share advice and not personal advice, as per this beautiful disclaimer right in front of us. Wolf,
Very nice one.
thank you. Right, first off the post, let's talk about some of these announcements today.
Mhm.
Nick, up 5%. Obviously, we hope everyone's out of this story. But what they've done, because of the issue they've had and the volatility in their share price, they've they very sensibly cancelled their share purchase plan for shareholders, but this hasn't affected them buying the project, correct?
Correct. I mean, look, the share purchase plan anyway would have been a small addition to whatever they were going to get. So it shouldn't be a too big a problem. But for the save face, of course, you don't want to have a situation where no one actually goes participates in it because the price is actually lower than the actual share purchase price itself. So yeah, look, understandably, I don't have an issue with that. In fact, I think the market sort of looked at it as a positive. So we'll see how we go from here.
DGL Wolf, we've got a little trend on this one. It's a story that we like, and difficult times, the chart is actually holding up reasonably well.
Mhm.
Talk us through this today's announcement.
Oh, look, it's just a very simple. It's just a small announcement. It's a small acquisition, sorry, in New Zealand. Just adding more bulk to whatever already they've got. So yeah, look, I don't think it's super material, but it will just add more revenues to it. And that's the strategy they've been taking for the last, I don't know, 12 months since they've been listed since last, I think, May, I think. So yeah, look, it's still a decent story. Um, it's not too expensive. So if you're still on this trade, it's still a hold technically, and I'm still okay with it fundamentally too.
Wolf, BRG,
Mm-hmm.
Breville Group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, another quite a big acquisition in the coffee Italian coffee producer.
Yeah, so it's first of all, BRG is really synonymous now these days as a coffee machine maker and coffee accessory maker and innovator in this space. Plus, of course, they've got other appliances that they do, but it's the coffee that they've got the name and reputation, and that's where they want to grow. So it's a prosumer space, and they found someone in Italy that does similar type stuff. That does the grinders, machines, and so on. So they joining forces, buying it out, half script, half cash, paying roughly about, I think, 200 million odds. So look, I think it's a good acquisition. I think if they want to be serious in this space, they need to bulk up. So for me, and Italy's synonymous with coffee, really. So from my end, it's a good acquisition.
Excellent, Wolf. Well done. Um, Wolf, I just want to talk about SGM because we got this one as a trend. It's doing sort of remarkably well. It's looking to me on the charts that it's going to go higher. So I think what I would suggest is uh, everyone should just lift their target price to around 1990, and maybe set a new target price around I think roughly around that sort of $22. Does that sound okay? That's okay with you?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the iron ore price is still around $150 mark, so that's a positive for them. They've announced a pretty good result recently, and they've said there's a positive outlook. So right now, there's positivity around for another at least 6 months and possibly 12. So the trade is still definitely on, and I agree. Lift the stop loss up, and hopefully you can squeeze a little bit more of it.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got to let these winners run. Very, very important.
Yep.
Um, ORA, another one we're trending at the moment. I just struggled the last few weeks, Wolf, but I'm okay with the price action. It's holding quite nicely
Mhm.
above that 350 level, so that's absolutely fine.
Yep.
I just want to put out some stock for next week there because it's one of our dividend plays, and the price action is excellent. So if you're looking for a dividend play that looks like it's at least going to possibly make a little bit of growth, Metcash is looking very good, Wolf, and the price action is excellent, and certainly to me looks like it's on the way to that maybe retest that 450 level again.
Yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't it? You've got a company that's delivered quite well. It's not super expensive. Well, it's actually quite fairly cheap. You've got a good dividend to boot, black looking charts, tick, tick, tick. Looks great for next week.
Wolf, obviously I'm going to talk about the commodities, and uh, again, the horrible thing, and it's really horrible actually. Our conversations at the moment, it's a horrible market to trend because there's all these children and women dying and beautiful people in Ukraine, and we look every day at this world war and look to try and make money from it, and it's a little bit it's getting me down a little bit, but unfortunately this is what we do. This is our job, but. Overnight you saw the peace talks completely fail in Turkey,
Mm.
and the war looks like again it's going to be longer, stronger for longer. It's going to support gold, it's going to support oil prices, it's going to support a lot nickel prices. All these commodities. Uh, and one that was up pretty high overnight was aluminium, AWC. Again, the chart for me needs to do a little bit more, but certainly, if it could just break above that sort of maybe sort of 210 level, I think you'd be jumping on board AWC definitely and looking to buy it. Um, Other sort of commodities that are a bit of a standout. Wolf, I think Paladin looks very good and certainly looks with that price action, it could go and retest that sort of $1 level.
Mhm.
Again, you've seen uranium, uranium,
Uranium and humus.
and I haven't even started drinking beer yet. Um,
It's got to be a long
Wolf,
day.
you've seen it up tackling record prices, right?
Yeah, for some time. I mean, I haven't seen these prices since the last boom in uranium.
Can we call it by its code? What's the code? Uranium.
URA.
URA. Yeah.
But anyway, look, it is interesting, isn't it, that the move there is supporting some of these uranium plays. So definitely look at the PDM, look at BOE. I think that's probably the two number one stories in this space, and
Yeah.
they look very good.
Yeah, they did, and they've done well through their buy signal this week, Wolf, and that sort of price action looks like they could go on with it next week if uranium holds up. Um, Wolf, interestingly, a lot of the big brokers are warming to some of these banks, so I just want to have a look at them, which have had upgrades. Obviously, Bank of Queensland's below trend, but as a dividend play, what sort of dividend are you getting at the moment out of Bank of Queensland?
Oh, good question. Look, with the banks, just going on the commentary, and I think it's Macquarie that's looked at all the banks, talked about it as in they should outperform the rest of the industrials. In fact, banks do quite well in a rising interest rate environment due to the fact that they've got more room to move with margins. So they're thinking that this is a place to have a look at, and they've got a lot of outperforms on some of these banks, Dave. So if I look at the actual numbers, the fundamental numbers, probably most of them are pretty good actually, except maybe the Commonwealth Bank, which is still quite expensive. But I'd say if I'm going to look at the banks and I'm just going to go for dividends and safety,
Yeah.
I'd forget about the small ones, right? The smaller ones. And
So you wouldn't look at BOQ.
no, I would knock it on the head and say, look, if I'm looking at the banks, let's look at the bigger ones first and see
Right.
where they are at, and then look at the small ones if I'm struggling for anything on the big stuff.
And so really from that point of view, ANZ, I mean, I really should have these on monthly charts because they're dividend plays, and that's what we're looking at.
Yep.
So you'd be looking at something like ANZ and NAB as well.
Yep, that's right. And I think NAB is the best looking one of them all, right? You can see.
It is definitely, and I think the target price was NAB was somewhere up here by Macquarie around 32. It was either Macquarie or City. I did agree one of them. Which looked very interesting. So Wolf, you're seeing a bit of interest in these banks, and obviously we get it. The interest rates are going up.
Yep.
They're gonna maybe their margins. They're gonna squeeze more out of their margins. Totally get it. On that note, obviously the war stocks, like we said, are in play. The dividend stocks are same old, still looking good, and you can see obviously the gold plays, gold holding up, and AGG, Pacific. Certainly this one, it looks very, very good. And it's been an excellent hot stock and sort of going and going and going. But was there anything else you wanted to end on today?
No, I think, look, I think the theme right now still is to just wait, hold back. I mean, you can see the volatility. There's no clarity. The war will be ending anytime soon. So it's a status quo, unfortunately, Dave. And, I completely agree with you. It's almost disheartening and sad that we have to talk about war and looking at stocks that we can make money on, when you see what's happening over there in Ukraine. So, look, I think Russia doesn't want to play ball. So it's just going to be a protracted long-term type stuff. And I don't even think about what might come next, because it's actually quite scary.
Wolf, just having a look at IPL again, obviously another war stock just
Mhm.
went through that sort of bullish signal
Wow.
beautifully, and
Wow.
that looks like it's going to go on with it. So, on that note, Wolf, anyway, we got to cheer up and stop getting all depressed about the war and making money out of war stocks.
That's
We
true.
got live at 12 o'clock, and there's going to be lots of questions, lots of stocks, lots of stock ideas,
Yep.
and I look forward to that. Thanks, Wolfie.
All right. Cheers, guys. See you then.
See you. Bye, mate. Bye.